Hey class, it's Mr. Zimmerman, and today we're going to take a look at a spiral question where we're going to solve an inequality. And this is going to be a bit of a process. We are going to be reviewing a lot of different skills that have been incorporated in this course so far. So this is just going to be a lot in one specific problem. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So when I'm looking at this inequality, I just really want to draw out the fact that when we're comparing it, we want it to be comparing to 0. You can see in B where it's not being compared to 0. I definitely want to change that. I would use inverse operations to rewrite a equivalent inequality where x squared minus x minus 72 was being compared to 0. This will make your life a lot easier, but let's go ahead and look at A. For A, the big thing we got to do is we're going to need to factoring out. We're going to need to factor out the GCF, which is 2. And we need the variable term that we're going to take out of each term, which is going to be x. The reason I know it's 2 is because 2 goes in all of these numbers. When I look at the variables, x3, x2, x to the 1, I could take out a x in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this where I factor out a 2 and I factor out an x, and I'm going to go ahead and compare this to be 0. So I'm going to go ahead and be left with 1x squared minus 2x, and I minus 24. And what I was doing for each term is I was essentially dividing this whole thing by 2x. 2 divided by 2 is 1x squared. 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. X squared divided by x is x. Again, negative 48 divided by 2 is negative 24. And then I did x where I did it. Now, the reason I want you to think about it as division is because that's essentially what I did. I pulled it out. Now, I have a quadratic. So what you see in the blue is essentially why I needed to factor out some terms. When I factor it out, I see a quadratic, which means I can factor it further. So I'm going to go ahead and now factor again. So I'm going to have 2x, and it's going to factor out to be 2 parentheses comparing to 0. Now, I know it's going to start out with an x and an x because the coefficient is 1 in the front. And now I'm going to have to go through my math facts and figure out what number makes 24 while having a sum or difference of 2. And I see 6 and 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. So I know it's going to be a 6 and a 4. And since it's a negative 2, I need my 6 to be negative and my positive 4. Now I'm going to go ahead and have 3 cases where I have 0, I have positive 6, and I have negative 4. And I'm going to go ahead and look at it from a number line perspective. Essentially what we did at this point is find key pieces of this inequality. So I'm going to draw my number line, and in my number line I know that I have 0 in the center, positive and negative to the left. Negative 4 is over here, and 6 is over here. I need to go ahead and figure out, hey, where in this graph, what is happening? Basically, this is a bunch of intervals. I need to investigate each interval. For example, between 0 and 6, I have to test in a number, any number in here, and I have to see if this number is going to be less than 0. So let me give you an example. I'm going to pick 1. 1 is a number that is between 0 and 6. And when x is equal to 1, x is a positive number, right? So I'm going to go ahead and substitute it in. 2 times 1 is a positive. 1 minus 6 is a negative. And 1 plus 4 is a positive. And then less than or equal to 0. So what I'm doing right here is I'm referencing this equation. I'm going to be repeatedly substituting values, and I'm going to use my number sense to calculate whether it's going to be a positive or a negative. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a positive times a negative is going to be a negative, which leaves a negative times a positive is less than 0. A negative times a positive is a negative, meaning that this is true. A negative is smaller than 0. So this region of space is good. I like it. I'm going to examine another region of space. For example, this was x equals 1. I'm going to go ahead and now look at this region of space that is from 0 and -4. Now, always make it as easy as possible. This problem is as convoluted as it already has gotten. I'm going to choose -1 because it's available. So I'm going to go ahead and test when x is equal to -1. What happens? Well, 2 times -1 is a negative. -1 minus 6 is a negative. -1 plus 3 or 4 is 3. So it's a positive. Now I'm going to evaluate it just like I did. And that makes a positive times a positive. And a positive times a positive is a positive. And this is false. A positive is not less than 0. So this means this region of space is no good. This green region, this is not part of my solution. The yellow region is. So since I'm going to be consistent with my color, I'm going to use yellow for parts of my answer and green for portions of my space that are not in my answer. I have 2 more spaces to check. 6 in infinity and -4 in negative infinity. Now, being consistent, I'm going to choose the easiest number, and I'm going to choose 10. 10 and -10. So I'm going to test it when x is equal to 10. I'm going to plug it in. 2 times 10 is a positive. 10 minus 6 is a positive. And 10 plus 4 is a positive, meaning that it's less than 0. That's going to be a positive, and that is false. So this region of space is not going to be part of my answer. Now I have one more section in my space to check. I'm going to go ahead and test when x is -10. So when x is -10, I'm going to substitute it into my inequality, which is 2 times -10 is a negative. -10 minus 6 is a negative, and -10 plus 4 is a negative. I'm going to be comparing that to 0, and this is going to turn out to be a negative is less than or equal to 0, which is true, meaning that between -4 and negative infinity, all answers work. Answers stop working between -4 and 0. Answers start working once you go past 0 all the way to 6, and then they stop working again. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to have to take my answer, and it is going to be from negative infinity all the way to -4. Then it's going to go to 0 to 6. And this is my yellow regions combined. So definitely I would try this problem yourself before you jump into part B. I hope you guys enjoyed this and hope this was a helpful spiral review question. That's it for now.